Welcome back to another episode of Wedding Wednesdays. Today I'm going to talk about how we had our vegan wedding. Everything from clothing to food to makeup. I'm going to be talking about it in this video, so stay tuned. Our wedding was in 2016, and at that point we'd only been vegan for a year, I think a little over a year. So there were definitely some things that we still needed to learn on our journey. As soon as we started planning our vegan wedding, we quickly realized that there were going to be some things that might be more difficult. Even living near Portland, Oregon, which is like a very vegan friendly city, we had some trouble finding like a vegan caterer. I had a lot of trouble finding a hair and makeup artist that would use vegan and cruelty-free makeup. Even the ones that seemed like they were more organic makeup had no idea what vegan even meant. The first thing I want to talk about is food. Obviously, when you think of vegan, the first thing that you think of is food. What are you going to eat? There are a few different ways that we could have gone about serving vegan food at our wedding. We could have made the entire wedding all vegan, or we could have had vegan options available. We decided to have all of the food at our wedding be vegan, and we came to this decision because most of our family was pretty open-minded about having vegan food, and we knew that the vegan food could be equally as delicious as non-vegan food. And at the end of the day, it was one meal out of all of our guests, like one meal out of all of our guests' day that they were going to eat vegan, and to us that seemed reasonable. So I know that I've heard of different situations of families where family is paying for the wedding, and because of that they have more of a say in what they want. Like family members, sometimes like the bride's parents or the groom's parents or whoever is footing the bill has more of an opinion about what needs to be served, and in those instances I think that it's perfectly okay just to have vegan options available, or at least have vegan options for the couple getting married. So we opted to have all of the food at the wedding be vegan, and I talked about this a little bit in the last video, which I will link somewhere up here, but we had a hard time in Portland, Oregon trying to find a catering company that didn't charge us a crazy obscene amount of money for vegan food. Like, we felt like we were paying for steak dinners, and I know that you're paying for the service as well, so I didn't want to undervalue that. So what we did was find a catering company, and I will link them down below, that was south of Portland, and they made amazing vegan food, and their prices were a lot more reasonable in my opinion. Sometimes you are limited by the catering companies that your venue allows, so definitely check into that if you're looking at a specific venue. Sometimes they only have 2 or 3 catering companies that they're contracted with, and you can only use those. So make sure you check to see if they even have vegan options available with the caterers at your venue. When you get catering done for a wedding, you generally have a tasting for that. We brought my mom and a friend. Both of those people are not vegan, so they were kind of like an unbiased opinion on if the food was good or not. We just wanted to make sure that we had an unbiased opinion, and it was really good to have their input. So definitely bring some people along that you trust, that are open-minded and aren't just gonna hate the food because it's vegan. You know, that definitely happens. And I will put a picture of the food that we served up here. I can't remember off the top of my head every specific thing. I just remember that it was amazing, and we had leftovers that we got to take home. Actually, we took it back to the hotel with us that night and ate more later, because it is true, you don't eat very much at your wedding, even though we tried. We were just talking to everybody, and I had a big plate full, and I just was too nervous and didn't eat a whole lot, so it was nice to have them make up a thing of leftovers for us to take later. Oh, I forgot to talk about, okay, so at the end, this is actually really important. If you are at all curious about what our guests thought of the food, well, let me tell you. Okay, why am I saying it like that? I think I'm going a little nutso here. So our guests loved the food. Everybody told me at the end of it, and my mom is always one to like give a really honest opinion, and she said that all of her friends and all like our family, everyone that she had talked to, really enjoyed the food. And as my husband and I were going around from table to table talking to everyone during dinner, like the plates were empty. There wasn't just like food pushed around on them, like they were empty plates at the tables, which was really good to see. So I'm glad that everybody enjoyed the food, because I think that vegan food can have the same problem as non-vegan food. Like, there's a good way to make it, or there's a really, really bad way to make it. So I'm glad that we made the choice to have the whole wedding be vegan, and it worked out really well for us. So if that's something that you're worried about, I believe it can work out really well for you as well. Just remember, it's only one meal out of their day. They'll be fine. They can handle it. Have an open mind. It'll be all right. And you don't even have to tell your guests that it's all going to be vegan. That's the cool part. Don't tell them until after they try it. Something that we've learned. So the next thing is desserts. We decided to do a cake, and that was by far my favorite tasting, like wedding planning part ever, was cake tasting. There are a lot of vegan bakeries in Portland, so that one was pretty easy for us to find one that could make a vegan cake for us. We also brought my mom along to that cake tasting so that she could taste some things, and again make sure that everything tasted good as well from a non-vegan's point of view. So that kind of covers the food category. If you have any questions, comment down below. I will respond to all of the comments that we get on these videos. So definitely do not be afraid to ask any questions down below. The next category I want to talk about is clothing. So as far as my wedding dress went, there are a few things that you need to look for and avoid. So that would be silk, fur if you're having a winter wedding. Also some satin, chiffon, and tulle can also be silk, so make sure you check your labels. The wedding dress place that I went to was really fantastic at checking labels and making sure that there wasn't silk hiding in most of the dresses that I tried on, which was really great. And when you're looking at accessories for your dress, make sure that there is no fur, silk, pearls, anything like that on any accessory pieces. So that was a list of all of the fabrics that you need to look out for. Here's a list of all of the ones that are safe and vegan friendly. Chiffon, cotton and lace, linen, organza, sateen, satin, taffeta, and tulle. Like I said before, some of those sometimes are made with silk, so always check, but for the most part, those are safe. Oh, and for accessories, feathers. Avoid feathers. So like I said at the beginning of the video, we had been vegan for a little over a year when we were planning our wedding. And sadly, what we didn't realize until it was too late was that men's suits and tuxes have a lot of wool in them. They also have horsehair linings sometimes, like the inner lining of the suit jackets or our horsehair, which was really strange to us. So we went to like Nordstrom's and Macy's and even H&M. We looked online, and it was probably a couple weeks until the wedding, like maybe a month before the wedding, when we realized that this was going to become an issue. Like I remember walking into Nordstrom and asking them if they had suits that didn't have wool in them, and they looked at us like we were insane. And we didn't want a linen one, like we weren't going for that look. We wanted and even some of the linen ones still had wool in them. So it was a process. So what we decided to do, and this is kind of where there's no such thing as a perfect vegan, and I've talked about this before in some of my videos, but it's just something that we couldn't stress about. And what we decided to do was to rent suits from a company. So they're ones that have already been purchased, they're used by many different people, and it was the only solution that worked for us, instead of buying a piece that we knew that we were never going to wear again, because we didn't have the time to find a suit. Like we did the best that we could, but we just ran out of time to try to find a suit that was vegan for him to wear. One thing that we were able to do was find ties that were not silk. That we also didn't realize until later on, but there were more options available to us that the ties would not be silk. One thing that we didn't worry about was the bridesmaids' dresses and the groomsmen's outfits. Like they can wear what they want. So we had like a color scheme. I think we got the ties for the groomsmen so that those colors would match, and for my bridesmaids I just kind of gave them a color palette and they can pick whatever dresses they wanted, like short, long, sparkly, not sparkly. I didn't care, as long as it kind of matched these tones. They could get whatever dress they wanted. So if it had any of those things on it, I wasn't going to worry about it, because you know, it's their purchase, their own dresses. Like I'm not going to try to control, other than the color, like what what they wanted to buy. So I'm calling the whole wedding vegan, but obviously like guests would come wearing leather shoes. Like that isn't something that you control. Like this was anything that we put our heart into was vegan to the best of our ability. The next topic is hair and makeup. So I wanted to make sure that all of the products that I used on my wedding day were vegan and cruelty free. And I'm going to be honest with you, this was a hard one. I contacted so many makeup artists and hairstylists. I talked to a bunch of them at wedding shows, and I was like, hey, do you have any vegan options? Like, do you have any vegan makeup that's also cruelty free that you know that you can use? And I just got like blank stares from the people that I talked to in person, and the emails back were like, no, we can't accommodate that, or the makeup that we use doesn't fall into that category. So what I started doing was emailing ones that weren't as big of companies. So I was emailing individual artists and asking, hey, do you have anything in your makeup collection that is vegan and cruelty free? And if not, I am more than happy to buy my own foundation, maybe in one that you suggest if they didn't already have it in their kit, because I know that that's a big expense. So I remember emailing and suggesting, like, I'm happy to buy my lip color, my blush color, because I can keep it in my personal collection if they didn't want to add that to theirs. And I found this amazing hair and makeup artist, Dallas Merkley. I will link her down below. She is absolutely fantastic. She was such a sweetheart and answered all of my questions. Like, she was amazing. She definitely went above and beyond to make sure, like, to do her own research into it to make sure that everything was vegan and cruelty free for me, and I really appreciated that. So I will definitely link her below. Check her out. She's fantastic. If you're in the Portland area, like, definitely check her out. I cannot say enough good things about her. So I did mention that I wanted everything that I use to be vegan and cruelty free on my wedding day. So again, I was a year into, and I'm going to be honest with you, again, we were a year into being vegan, and I had not found a deodorant that worked for me yet that was vegan and cruelty free. And as you know, on your wedding day, you are very close to a lot of people, you are hugging a lot of people. I was a nervous wreck, just all nerves and just sweating a lot, like, gonna be real with you here. So I used one of my bridesmaids, I used her, like, aerosol spray deodorant, because I did not want to be the stinky bride, because I did not want to be the stinky bride on my wedding day. And that aerosol deodorant was not vegan, it was not cruelty free. I know I'm not a perfect vegan. I do my best every day, and I've gotten better since then, and I have found deodorants that work, but at that time I had not found them, and I was not going to be a stinky bride, and there's that. Do what you will with that information. Okay, next category, alcohol. And I keep saying this, but we were early on in our vegan journey. I had no idea that some alcohols were not vegan. We didn't know at that point. So we just had beer that was part of a wedding gift from family. They made beer for us for our wedding, which was really nice to have. And then wine, we served beer and wine during dinner. And wine, I think we bought one that was, like, organic. We saved money on that and just bought bulk from, I think, Whole Foods, because they have case discounts, and they had a big wine sale, so we just bought a bunch of wine and called it good. Our venue only allowed liquor during the cocktail hour, and I don't even remember what liquors were used, and I haven't looked them up since to see, like, what's vegan and what's not as far as brands go. I think most liquors are, but wine is, like, where it gets iffy. So that would be something that if we were to get married now, we would look into, but at the time we didn't look into. I'm going to put a link down below. That's a really great website and a really good resource that you can just type in any wine or liquor, and they have a very extensive collection of all of them, and it will tell you what is vegan and what is not, and that was really helpful for us in the past few years. Whew, I'm getting winded. I've been talking for half an hour. I hope I can shorten this for you guys. Okay, so flowers. This one is for silk. A lot of fake flowers are made out of silk, so if you are going to go the fake route or use fake petals somewhere, just make sure you check and see if they're silk or not. Also, the ribbon that is used for wrapping the bouquets can be silk as well, so just check with your florist and see if they use silk or not. You can always offer to provide your own ribbon if for some reason they only have silk available. So I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about today in this video. If there's something that I forgot, I will put it in the description down below. And as always, I will include everything in the description that I talked about today that I think you might need a link to. And don't forget to check out the first 2 videos in the series. I will have those linked down below as well. The first one is our entire wedding video, and the second video I did about how we budgeted and the DIY decor. And if you liked today's video, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It would mean a lot to me. And subscribe so you don't miss next week's video of Wedding Wednesday. And next week's episode is going to be all about what I would change from our wedding day and our honeymoon planning, so stay tuned for that. I hope you have a great day and thanks for watching. Bye!